Hello you guys, welcome back. Today we are just going to pull out some salvage wood pieces and we are just going to create some home decor. So starting with these two very plain just cut blocks, I'm just going to go ahead and create some little candle pillars. I am going to use these drill bits. I think it's the 1.5, and I'm just going to drill the holes so my tea light will sit right in that little hole. So the wood on these were a little bit hard. I'm just gonna go ahead and let my husband finish it. So I'm gonna go ahead and move on. I'm gonna go ahead and use this transfer out of this IOD booklet, out of their new holiday release, and I'm just gonna add these to the corners of my little pillars. So I actually debated if to put it on the bottom or the top of my pillar, because I was thinking that I could put like a little bow or something on the top, but I ended up going with just keeping it simple and added these transfers to the corners of the top of the pillars. So I just go ahead and set my transfer down and use the little plastic tool that comes in the pack, and I'm just putting a little pressure and lifting up one corner of the transfer sheet, and it just comes right off. Then using that same transfer sheet, I do go ahead and burnish it just to make sure that there is no loose pieces and it is all adhered to my piece of wood. I do seal these up with some wax, and that is basically it. I do show in the next clip what I was thinking is adding a bow, just to show you that that's another option if you do decide to recreate these. I'm going with very simple DIYs here for Christmas, or if you're like doing a craft show and you need some simple ideas, these would be super easy to do. So next up, using these salvage pieces, I'm just going to create a little tray, or what I thought was a tray. I end up using it as a riser. So right here, I just end up putting the pieces together. For the bottom, I did use a newer piece of wood, and just added these salvage pieces around that piece of wood. And just using this black paint from Folk Art, I'm just going to go ahead and give my little tray here 2 coats of paint. Now, I know that you can see the holes where I guess I think this was a crib, I'm not even sure. Um, I could have puttied the holes, but I feel like these are salvage pieces and I'm not trying to hide that. It gives it character. So going along with that look, I'm just going to go ahead and distress it lightly with my sanding block just to bring out some of the details and the curves of this little tray. Now, you could go ahead and stop here, but I did go ahead and add some IOD transfers to this piece. I lost the footage of putting on the front little detail, and I did use the IOD, I believe it's called Etiquettes. It's fairly easy, exactly how you put on a transfer. You put these on the exact same way. So my plan was to use this tray this up like this way, the way I have it here. But then I turned it around and I kind of loved it as a riser. So I do end up using it as a riser. I just go ahead and distress the bottom to distress the edges. And I don't know, I kind of love it this way a lot better. So these were my least favorite out of all my DIYs today. Um, So what I go ahead, I just picked out 2 more random pieces out of my wood salvage stash. I'm going to go in with this color black from Folk Art. I'm going to go ahead and give them 2 coats. Being that it's Christmas, I felt like I could have left this one green, but I didn't have another matching wood piece like this. So I do want them to match, so I'm just going to go ahead and give them both a coat of black. And once I have given those plenty of time to dry, I'm just gonna go in with this gold leaf paint and just paint in some of the details of these spindles. And I do 2 coats. I'm not sure how I feel about this. I don't think I like it, but I just left it. And if I decide to change it, I will go ahead and paint over this. But as of right now, I'm not sure I really like this project. So I do this to both my pieces. I just kind of highlight some of the details that they have, do 2 coats, and then I let them dry. Once they are dry, I do get these 2 picks that I picked up at Walmart, I think for 98 cents, and I'm just going to stick them on the top of my spindles here. And I think as soon as I do this, this is where I start to hate this project even more. But, you know, I'm just going to add it in here. Maybe you'll be inspired to do your own style. I don't know, guys. I I don't know. I don't know how to feel about this. But anyways, let me know what you guys think. So I do end up gluing these in, and then I'm just going to create some little bows that I can glue to the bottom. So to create my bows here, I am just going to cross them over each other, and then I'm just going to get some thread, run it through a needle, and then I'm just going to run that thread right through the center of my bow, and just kind of, I'm not a sewer, guys, but I just figured to get a cleaner looking bow, I'm just going to go ahead and sew it in the center. I just run that needle right through the middle and then kind of just twist it over and tie the knot from there. And that is it. That just secures the bow in the center. There's many ways of making bows. I guess this is just what I felt like doing this day. I don't know. The only thing that I don't like is that the red was a little bit too bright for the color of bow I used. So I do plan on putting something in the center. I just can't find the little black bead that I want to use. And even when I do the whole setup to show you guys the end result, I don't even think I found the beads then. But once I do take them to my booth, the bead will be added on just to cover that bright red thread. So I just go ahead and secure it in the center and then cut the little dovetails on the ends a little bit shorter. Then I'm just going to go ahead and add it to my spindle here. I kind of put it on the bottom of the pick since it didn't go all the way down. Just to hide that, I go ahead and add that bow right onto that. So I left this little clip in here just to show how I did the bow. After pinching it in the center, I'm going to go ahead and stick my needle right through that little pinch section. I'm going to go ahead and run my needle through. I wrap it around and then I just kind of stick my needle underneath where I wrapped that thread around my bow and tighten, and then I wrap it around a couple more times to secure it, and then I just kind of stick my needle underneath that middle section, and I do that a couple times just to make sure that it is secure and tighten, and that is basically it. I'm going to go ahead and just cut my little ends here into little dovetails, and that is basically it. I hope I explained myself decent to where you guys can understand it and hopefully recreate some little bows. And that is basically it. Let me know what you guys think. As I've already mentioned a million times, this is not my favorite, but this is kind of the vibe I'm going for as far as my booth goes. I want to add lots of pops of red and black and get some gold in there for Christmas. I do plan on doing a reset at the beginning of November, so I am trying to be inspired to get some projects done for that coming at the beginning of November. So next up are these 3 little candle pillars that I picked up from the Goodwill bins. All I'm going to do is add these little bottle brush trees to the top of them, and that is basically it. So I had added a transfer to the largest little pillar and it came out crooked. So I went ahead and sanded it off, and it just took off basically all the varnish that was on top, which is not what I plan on doing. So just to make it cohesive, I went ahead and did that to all 3 of them. And it actually looks pretty nice. The wood is a nice color underneath. So I guess I will call this a happy accident because I do love the color so much more now. So I go ahead and add a little drop of glue and add my tree into my little pillar here. And I could have taken the base off and drilled the hole and stick the tree right into that. Only thing is, I feel that someone can actually use this like in regular season after Christmas. So I decided to just add the little drop of glue and leave it at that, just in case, somebody wants to use them after Christmas. Maybe I can add some moss or something just to cover that little wood base, but I don't know. I kind of love them how they are. Let me know what you guys think. So for this here, these are little shutter pieces. I had two broken smaller shutters and I just went ahead and pulled the broken pieces off, and I'm just going to create some little ornaments. They could even be gift tags, I feel. I'm just going to go ahead and cut that little piece off of the sides, and then I'll just give it a quick little sand to smooth it out, and then we'll start to create our little ornaments. So I grabbed a pack of little Christmas trees from Dollar Tree. This comes with a set of 6, and I do plan on gluing them onto my little wood piece here. I just need to cut them down on one side to make them flat. So I'm basically going to remove that little bottom base. Then I'm just going to grab some scissors and completely cut off one side of the tree so it can be flat enough to where I can glue it onto my little wood piece. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of hot glue to the back and attach it to my wood. And just to secure it a little bit further, I'm just going to go ahead and wrap some jute around the bottom of the base of the tree. And I did add some glue underneath that as well. So I go ahead and create some little hangers and wrap that around with some jute to secure it. As you can see here, I did add some holes. I planned on hanging them on wire, but then I changed my mind and went with the jute instead. And that is basically it for this one. Here is the end result. Next up are these very straight pieces of salvage. I think they came off of some chairs or something. I'm going to go ahead and sand down the edges, and I'm just going to create some little peppermints like to sit on a set of books or shelf sitters. So for the stripes of my peppermint, I'm just going to go ahead and use this ticking stripe fabric I picked up at Walmart. I just added a drop of glue and went ahead and started wrapping that around my wood piece. And I did cut my fabric, just pulling it apart so I can have those rough edges and give them more of a distressed look. And I do just add a drop of glue every couple rounds just to secure it. Then once I reach the end, I do cut off that excess. I did leave the excess to cover the end of the peppermint, but then I just decided that I'm just going to go ahead and cover that raw edge with some antique wax. That is when I decided to grab the two that I have not wrapped and put the antique wax first before I add my fabric. It makes it a little bit more difficult if you wrap it first and then add the antique wax. So that is what you see me doing here. So I am going with a more primitive vibe for this little peppermints here. So I am going to go over them with some Distress Oxide just to give them that more aged look. And lastly, I'm going to go ahead and wrap them with some jute to embellish them. Then I'm just going to add some greenery, some rusty bells to go with the primitive look, and add a little hanger. And that is it for this one. What do you guys think? These are super cute to use as ornaments or maybe even to set on a set of books. And moving on with two more pieces of those shutters that I cut down, I'm just going to go ahead and give these a coat of paint. I guess in a sense, kind of like a really heavy dry brush, but focusing only on the center. I do plan on heavily distressing the edges of these. And here they are dry. I'm just going to go ahead and distress the edges. Then I'm just going to go ahead and stamp them with the IOD ephemera stamp. And I am using a ink pad, archival ink pad, I think in the color Galaxy Gold. I did pick this up at the Goodwill bins, but I'm pretty sure you can find it at Hobby Lobby. Then going into the IOD, I think this one is called Crimson Velvet. I'm just going to go ahead and add this transfer with the candle on it. Using that same little tool that comes in the transfers, I'm just going to put a little pressure and lift one corner of the transfer sheet just to help release the transfer. And using that same little sheet, I'm just going to go ahead and burnish it just to make sure that it is completely adhered to my piece of wood. So I add a little hanger to my little piece of wood here and we are done. These are easy to do if you are doing craft shows, and if you don't have IOD, there's plenty of napkins where you can take some pretty images and decoupage it onto your piece of wood. I get my napkins from Home Goods. They usually do carry some pretty cute ones. And lastly, these are still super popular this year. I'm just going to go ahead and paint this little piece of salvage up and add a little bottle brush tree to the top. I did these last year. They sold really well for me, and from what I'm getting this year, they're still super popular. So I'm just going to create a couple for my booth this year. And I just wanted to mention that I have been on Whatnot for the past, I want to say, month. I was giving it a shot to see if I would like it. I have not changed my name on there, but I will add a link to the bottom in the description box. And if you like to work with salvage, just like any of the pieces I have used on this video, I do have some more salvage available. I will be doing a show next Thursday if you want to catch us there on Whatnot. And maybe not all the pieces will be available on here, but I do have plenty of spindles if you guys want to recreate any of these looks I did here today. So this little piece here I got from the Goodwill bins. It was already painted white, so it was easy peasy just to drill the little hole into it and stick my tree into my little piece of wood. And staying with the theme of trees and little wood salvage pieces, I do have these little plastic acrylic trees that I picked up at the Goodwill bins. I'm just going to set these right on top of these little pieces of wood. Before I do so, I'm just going to go ahead and antique wax the top of my piece of wood so it can kind of match the bottom of my spindle. And I don't glue these on, I just set them right on top because I do think that these will look super cute with some tea lights sitting right underneath them. And that is it for today's video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I do want to welcome a lot of the new subscribers that I got recently. If you like moody decor, upcycles, thrift flips, you are in the right place. I want to thank Kraft Kathy so much for mentioning me in her couple videos back. I will link her channel down below. And again, thank you guys so much for being here, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.